My 2024 goals will be achieved using this vision board method, and it's not what you think. When I hear the term vision board, I think of that poster paper where I'd cut out my future Lambo or Ferrari, that future beach house and private jet with my name on it plastered on the side, just like Grant Cardone's 10X jet. Then you hear the gurus talking about how if you imagine it, it'll become real. Really? That's the plan? Cut out everything you want and put it on a board for you just to see every day that it's becoming real? No, I call BS on that. I found a better way to manifest everything I want into a new vision board method, and it's more powerful than what you've done in the past, and it's easier than most people think. If you stay till the end, I'll give you the resources you need to make sure that this happens in your life too. All right, enough's enough. Let's do this, and I'll show you how to build a real vision board for your life. All right, let's get into it. So this all started for me when I read John Matone's The Intelligent Leader book. In this book, he talks through a framework that helps create a new vision board that I'm talking about. It all starts by looking inside yourself and thinking about your inner core. The inner core are your values, your beliefs, your character. And without understanding your true inner core, how are you supposed to really understand what you want out of life? A great quote from the book is how John defines character. Character is what you do when no one's watching. The components of your character are things like, number 1, courage, speaking truth to power, taking action in spite of fear. Number 2 is loyalty and trust, right? Diligence, sticking with it, and modesty, opening to new opinions. Honesty, gratitude, and focusing on what you have, not what you don't. And once I understood these are the 6 components to my character, I needed to really dig in and think about why I do the things I do in the context of those 6 components. So I've talked in the past about gratitude and how important it is to me. So go watch the video where I talk about the 6 lessons that Tony Robbins taught me. I'll make sure you can access it at the end of the video. But one of the most important pieces of that is gratitude. That's a core component of my character now. It wasn't before, and reading these books and listening to people like Tony Robbins, it's really changed my frame. So it's broken my frame really, and to a completely new and different way. And for the other components of my character, I feel pretty good about where I'm at. I'm self-aware enough to know that I have some work to do on courage, telling the truth to power. I have some work to do on diligence, and we won't get into the rest of these, but the fact is that I understand what these components are and where I stand in my life today. It gives me a good sense of self-awareness that makes me comfortable to build a plan on how to work with others. This is the primary key to unlocking how I can build a vision board that I really want to build and achieve. So the next piece of this puzzle, I need to plug into what John was talking about, which he calls the 7 dimensions. These 7 dimensions have helped me uncover things I didn't know about myself, things that helped me build this 2024 vision board. So let's get into what the 7 are. So number 1 is thinking differently, thinking big. Number 2 is vulnerability decision. 3 is mindset of entitlement versus mindset of duty. Number 4 is leveraging gifts and addressing gaps. And number 5 is courage to execute with pride, passion, and precision. And number 6 is staying present. And number 7 is course correction. Now, I'm not going to get into each of these dimensions. You need to go buy a copy of the book, which you can find a link in the description below. But it's important that I call your attention to a few that I've used to build my vision board. We're going to start with thinking differently and thinking big. John Matone is one of the world's best executive coaches and was leadership coach for Steve Jobs. I'm sure you've heard of him. The Steve Jobs of Apple. My mind was blown when I read this part of the book. There is one golden nugget of wisdom that I must share with you, and here it goes. Back in '97, Apple Computer had a marketing campaign, and the tagline was "Think Different." One of the key takeaways I got from that book was a piece where John and Steve go back and forth, and here's what they said. This is Steve talking to John Matone. You remember the Think Different campaign, right? Of course, John says. Well, that initiative was definitely centered around relaunching the Apple brand and selling our products. But when I took the stage that day to give my speech, I was, in many respects, speaking symbolically. What do you mean symbolically? John had said. Well, here's Steve's response. And this is the point that stuck with me. I knew this was one of my opportunities to share, not only with my people at Apple, but with the entire world, everything I had learned during my 15 years away from the company. During that time, I did a lot of soul searching and grew tremendously. But as a leader and a person, what I learned became one of the key tenets that Apple was built on. If you want to get different results in your personal life or in your business, if that is the vision that you embrace, then you have to have the courage to be willing to think as big as possible about yourself and what you have to contribute to the world. Think about that for a minute. One of the greatest minds of our generation is sharing his wisdom on how to build a vision board of your future life. Taking the time to cut out Lambos is not the way. Really taking the time to think about your life and what you want to accomplish with it, that's the way. So another example is Bill Gates. He takes week-long retreats in the woods to just think. He calls these thinking retreats. Clearly, we all don't have a free week to go hide in the woods from all of our obligations or take 15 years to think about our life and what we want. The point I'm making here is that Think Different, the marketing campaign for Apple, was more than just about rebranding the company. It was a message that I take and internalize that allows me to really think about what I want to accomplish with my life and what my core purpose is on Earth. There are other examples you could pull into this, like Billy Beane thinking differently about how to win a World Series for the A's, and Billy used data to find professional baseball players at the lowest cost possible, and he really turned around Major League Baseball on its head. So go watch Moneyball with Brad Pitt if you just want the movie version of that. Or here's another example. JFK on May 25th, 1961 said that we were going to put a man on the moon. We didn't even have a space program to make that a reality at that point, and everyone around him thought it was crazy in the beginning. But when you have a visionary that thinks big and thinks differently, there's a rally around it that makes it a reality. We put a man on the moon right before the deadline of when JFK wanted to see it happen. So for me, one of the biggest things I found helpful after reading this book and thinking about everyone like Steve Jobs, Walt Disney, Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Billy Beane, JFK, and even Jimmy Donaldson, you know him as Mr. Beast, who, by the way, wants to run for president in his mid-40s, so watch out for Mr. Beast president by 2040. These are all visionaries, and they think big and they think different. So what I want to talk about next is the core purpose statement and why all of what I've just said really matters. So how does this really apply to a 2024 vision board? Well, for me, it's about understanding what I want before I can really build that vision for my future. So there are some questions that I needed to ask myself to help articulate this into a vision board. And these are big, deep questions if you really sit and think about it. Number one is, why am I here? Number two is, what was I put on this earth to actually do? And number three, what is the unique gift that I offer to this world? This is what John Matone calls your core purpose, or what it can turn into, which is your CPS, or core purpose statement. Another way of thinking about this is turning it around into questions like, what are my greatest strengths? Or how do I want to be remembered? What are the happiest moments in my life? If I had unlimited time and resources, what would I do? These are all deep questions that will take time to work through if you take them seriously, which is why I clearly am creating a YouTube video about it. And I'm still working through these answers to questions for me. And I also recognize that I won't come to an answer and that it'll just be etched in stone forever. No, these are going to be things that change over time, but have the exercise to be able to come back to this and on an annual basis allows me to really stay in touch with my core purpose. Now, there is one more piece that is critical that I need to share with you. Imagine that you're at the end of your life. Really. Take a minute and imagine you're at the end. Who's around you? What would each person whisper to you? What differences have you made in their lives? As I think about what I want my vision board to look like, I believe that I need to think about what the end of my life looks like first, versus just going through it without a clear plan. So after answering and thinking about all these questions, I've put together my core purpose statement. This is a statement that can capture what I want in my vision board. And to me, it should answer who I am, what I want to do with my time, who I want to become, and how I want to contribute to the world. Before I get to what my core purpose statement is, here are a few examples that John Matone shares that I think are impactful and worth sharing with you. So Oprah Winfrey says hers is to be a teacher and to be known for inspiring my students to be more than they thought they could be. Sir Richard Branson is the founder of the Virgin Group, and his purpose statement is to have fun in my journey through life and learn from my mistakes. Denise Morrison, who's the CEO of Campbell Soup Company, said to serve as a leader, live in a balanced life, and to apply ethical principles to make a significant difference. So what's my 2024 core purpose statement that's going to feed what's on my vision board? Well, I haven't shared this with anyone, so my friends, you're the first to hear it. To never stop learning, to listen with empathy and kindness, to become a teacher, to always bring happiness and joy to those around me. This core purpose statement can be a sentence, a paragraph, or whatever you want it to be. So let's get into my 2024 vision board. Now that I've built out my core purpose statement and have been able to articulate what I want seen on the board, I can actually build it. There are really 4 pieces to my core purpose statement, and because of that, I'm going to really only have 4 pieces to my vision board. I like to keep things simple, and you could argue that it's that a waste, and I should use the old vision board method of Lambos and jets, but I'd argue that since I now understand what I really want in life, I can build a real vision board that is something I can get really excited about. This vision board is where I'll store my 2024 goals. This vision board is what I'll come back to when I'm feeling deflated, tired, or just I need some kind of motivation to remember why I'm doing this in the first place. Oh, and one of the rules I decided this year is that I get 3 get out of jail free cards, like that Monopoly card, where I don't have to pay the $50 to get into the visiting area though. What the purpose of that is, what this means is that I get to set the goal for the year, and somehow if I miss it, I get to have 3 mistakes for myself and it'll be okay. I heard a stat that something like 3 to 5% of people actually fulfill their goals that they set out to at the beginning of the year. And that's crazy to me. I want some flexibility in it, and I don't want to fail. So hence that's why I'm talking about Monopoly cards for my life. All right, so using this vision board method, I'm gonna have 4 main pieces like I was saying. So part 1 is gonna be my core purpose statement. And in part 1 of that statement, I say it's to never stop learning. So what does this really mean to me? Well, I've always told myself that I like reading books. I buy books, I always had book recommendations to me, and I put them in a spreadsheet. I've found that books are by far the best way of learning. A book is someone's life work in 300 pages. And I've decided the top left corner of my vision board is gonna be a number, 52. 52 weeks in a year, but with those weeks, I wanna read 52 books, and there's an average of 300 pages in a book. I can read 50 pages in an hour. I can read an hour a day. And so there's 300 pages divided by 50 pages is 6 days of reading is 1 book a week. So that's part 1. Part 2 is I want to listen with empathy and kindness. I'll be putting up a big picture in the top right of a hand that has a stop sign. Not an actual stop sign, but stop, with an ear that has someone talking into it. This image will remind me that I need to stop talking and listen to those around me so I can hear them and respond with kindness. Part 3 is to become a teacher. So in the bottom left corner, I'll be putting the YouTube and LinkedIn logos there because I've decided that I'm going to spend my time really teaching those through these platforms. I started on LinkedIn because it was the platform I've used in my professional career for a decade plus, and that's where my core network lives. YouTube's where my new world lives. And being on here allows me to teach in a much clearer way to you. I'm really excited about the future ahead of being a teacher on topics like what I've been talking about today. If you want, put together a masterclass that you can click on how to apply what I'm talking about here and how to turn digital writing into becoming a creator online. So click the link below and you'll get access to masterclass. Now, part 4 is one that I'm really excited about talking about. It's to always bring happiness and joy to those around me. This is for the bottom right corner. I'm going to be putting a picture of an iPhone with a big red X on it. For me, it's a reminder that I need to be present all the time. And after reading Scarcity Brain by Michael Easter, I've been more and more aware, and aware is the key word there, of effects that our digital devices have on our life. And surprise, it's not positive. So this image is going to remind me that when I'm with the people I care about, I need to be present. Being present and putting the phone away, not in my pocket, not on my wrist like an Apple Watch, not on the table next to me during dinner. No, it's gone. Be present and I'll be happier, and so will those people around me. So to wrap this up, my vision board is going to look pretty funny to anyone that doesn't understand the context. It's going to look like one of those boards that the NFL and college teams have on the sidelines where they raise it up and the players on the field know what's going on, but nobody else does, right? Yep, that's me. I'm a player on the field of life and have my board on the sidelines to remind me of what matters most in my life. What matters most is to build the vision board I need to succeed this year. I challenge you to do the same. Now, go click the link below and get into my masterclass and learn how you can figure out what you want out of your life through digital writing and turn that into becoming a creator. Now, go enjoy it. Until next time, my friends. Till next time.